Hey,
Whoa, we are live now. I don't know who. Let me get on Facebook here, but we're live for round two. We're gonna bring some more sales stuff. Actually, Grant is gonna be, so I'm gonna be leading the questions. So if you guys have any questions, like usual, drop them in the comments. And if you're here live, let us know where you're tuning in from, and hashtag live, hashtag replay. And if you missed, what was it, last week, or was it
that was
last?
something like that. Time flies when you're in quarantine.
Yeah, so I don't know. It could have been earlier today for all I know. But in this group, we did another interview with Grant. It was the last interview we've done. And we talked about sales. And in the comment strings, you'll be able to see the 5x7 comments that everybody wanted. So if you want access to that document, just it's all about the 7 clarity questions. There was 6, now there's 7. So it's been updated just recently. If you want a copy of that, that'll be a framework with videos that you can learn yourself, learn how to kind of talk like Grant does, use his tonality. He'll go through a little training for you guys too. So if you want that, just type in 5x7 in the comments too. So today's topic, I think, may resonate with a couple of you guys, maybe if not all of you guys, especially if you have salespeople on your team that are new, that may not be as trained as you are. And it's all about selling to people who don't know your name. Colder traffic, meaning when you're generating these leads, whether it's organically or through paid advertising or whatever the mechanism is, they're coming to you, but they really don't know you yet. So it's not like they saw 10 of your videos or see your interviews in a different group. They may not know you. So, like, how do you effectively communicate and get people to go with you when they don't necessarily know, like, or trust you just yet?
Hmm.
Does
hmm
that sound like a good thing?
I think this will be good to dive into.
Cool. Now, like, let's just give an example. Like, do you want to use what industry do you want to use? Do you want to use fitness or do you want to use agencies?
Yeah, why not? I mean, so just for context, I've sold quite a bit of fitness coaching services, both for myself and then for a few big name influencers, and then also a lot of business development coaching. So that's what I'm used to. But I mean, the principles of selling pretty much apply across the board. It's
Okay.
just kind of shifting like how you present exactly what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah, let's use fitness as an example here, and let's go with like a mission post, for example. If somebody were to write a mission post, it's like my mission is to help 10 men get in shape by the beginning of summer. Who's
Mm.
with? So if somebody reacts and says, I'm with you, how do you kind of, once you're on the phone and you get your messaging in, how should someone handle that call?
Mm. Okay. So yeah, like the whole messenger dialogue leading up to a call is in and of itself like another hour long training probably. So focusing on calls because that's where I spend the majority of my time.
Yeah.
Um, I think before we even get into necessarily running the call, I've got an example that makes a big difference for a lot of my clients that are kind of just getting started off transitioning from personal training sales to online coaching. And the big mental barrier to overcome is you're not selling the tangible components of your program. Like, here's a custom macro plan, and I'm going to write you workouts every week, and there's a Facebook group, right? Because this is oftentimes how personal trainers would sell sessions in person. Like, so we're going to do a package of 12 sessions where I'll work out with you. Because that basically just puts you in competition with any other personal trainer. And at that point, when there's no difference in the offer, or at least there's no perceived difference, then you're competing as a commodity on the bottom dollar. And that's just a race to zero, right? So I like this example. Essentially, when you're selling coaching, you're not selling a product, you're selling a feeling in the most basic terms. And so let's go through this example real quick. So if someone were to say like, I need clothes. This is their feeling like I just need clothes. I mean, you could go to Goodwill like I used to do when I was a kid growing up, broke as shit on top ramen and tuna. I would go to Goodwill. You could get clothes for $5, right? So if that's your only need, that's a problem that could be solved at $5. If someone says I need a really nice dress, well, now because of that new specificity, we're probably more in the range of like $300, right? That's a nice dress. Way different than $5 I need clothes. So what's the next step? It's like, well, I need a wedding dress. And we understand that naturally anything that's associated with weddings is going to come at a premium. So you might spend, I don't know, about $1,050. I think I remember that being in the average range of what an American wedding dress would cost if you're on the budget. But
Are you getting married, dude?
I'm not getting married
is
right
that
now.
where this is going?
No,
Okay.
no, but it's a good example because like
Yeah.
I need clothes, $5
Yeah.
solution. I need a nice dress, $300 solution. I need a wedding dress, it's $1,000 plus. But if we really understand that what we're selling is a feeling, we get away from shinier and shinier shit being what drives the price up, and now we get to where it's priceless. Because if someone says, I want to feel like a princess on my wedding day, because these will be the pictures and memories I look back on for the rest of my life. That's priceless. If you can get to that stage of emotional clarity and your offer is presented as that dress that helps her feel like a freaking princess for the rest of her life. If you asked $5,000, it would be a steal, right? And so the important thing that I think everyone can just utilize is remembering you're not selling a product, you're selling a feeling. And so if you can identify what the core driving emotional needs of your potential clients are, then you can show up without any conversion assets, just like you were talking about, just straight up first mission post into a call. And if you deeply understand that and you're able to get to that point on a call, then regardless of what you're actually offering, if it is clear that it would help them to achieve that desired emotional state, they'll buy it, and price is irrelevant.
Right. Okay. So what if can we do a little role play possibly here?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Okay, cool. So you're the salesperson, I'm the client, right? So I'm the prospect, and I responded to a mission post. Now we're on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to get in shape. I actually do need to get in shape. So this is you can get me emotional here. So let's start it off. Like you called me, I give you my number, and now I say, hey, it's Rahul.
What's going on, Raul? Nice to meet you, man. Where about in the world are you?
I'm out in Los Angeles. What about you?
Oh, cool. You're basically neighbors with me. I'm down in San Diego.
Nice.
I've had the privilege of talking with some people around the world, so I feel like you and I are actually pretty close. How you been getting along with quarantine, man? I know we've been tied down pretty tight here in California.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it took a hit on fitness, took a hit on business, but overall, I mean, things are staying positive. What about you? How's everything with you?
Well, it's good to hear, man. I resonate. Staying positive myself. There's definitely worse places that we could be quarantined, but man, I mean, if you're like anybody else, you probably put on a couple extra LBs since this all started, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just be super transparent and forthright. The whole purpose of this call is for me to get a feel for you, you get a feel for me, and see if there might be something I could do to help you out. So, I mean, I know you mentioned that like fitness has been a little bit of a struggle. Before we go any further, have you already found a solution, or are you still looking?
No, I mean, I had Orange Theory. It's on pause. They have that mobile app, but I just haven't logged in yet.
Okay. Well, cool. Do you mind if we just kind of dive into some clarity questions so I can get to know a little bit more about what else you've tried?
Sure.
Okay. So before we do that, I think it's important to remember that, if you're going to draw a roadmap, you got to know two things: where you're going and where you currently are. So is the goal of yours more like, I just want to get back to pre-quarantine body, or is there something else? Like ultimately, where do you want to be in your health journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to make it by size, like fit back into the clothes that originally, so they're not so tight anymore. So probably get back down to like a size 31, 30 waist. That's like kind of the goal.
Okay. Okay. Is there like a certain pair of jeans that you're thinking of right now?
I mean, they're all stretched out now, so I'd have to go get a new pair.
Well, that's cool, man. I find that just having some sort of like tangible motivation, at least for me, is huge for staying committed to my goals when progress is a little slow. Do you have your eye on a certain pair of pants that you'll buy as soon as we get back to that 31 waist?
Yeah, like I kind of use my benchmark, my barometer as a specific pair of shorts, and when they need a belt, that's when I'm in shape.
Okay, fair enough, man. So, do you have any estimates yourself about how much weight you'd need to lose to get back there?
Probably I'm looking at a good amount, probably like 15 to 20 pounds.
15, 20 pounds. Okay. Have you ever gone through a process of losing that kind of weight in the past, or would this be the first time you ever really put focus on it?
You know what? I have um, done this once before in the past, like a couple years ago,
Hmm.
where I just kind of got lazy. Then I went hardcore into shape. But things are just slower now. It's just things evolve slower once you're a little bit older. So it's like kind of a little more of the frustration side is that things are growing in areas you don't want them to grow.
Okay. Totally hear that, man. If you don't mind me asking, like, if this is something you've done before, what's kept you from being able to lose the weight yourself this time?
I mean, I think I just stopped doing that one routine. I mean, I don't have access to that program anymore that I was doing, and I was working out with a partner that I no longer work out with anymore. So we live too far apart. So I think that was probably one of the main drivers is just not having like a solid workout partner.
Hmm. So do you feel like it was more the accountability component or just knowing what you could do now that circumstances are a little different as far as what you have access to?
I mean, a combination of both. Like, it's always great to work out with a client or a friend, but then I also got inherently lazy on my own, where sometimes I just wouldn't go just because I'm like, you know what, it feels better to sleep a little bit longer than it does to go endure a little bit of pain in the morning. Because sometimes when like the way I'm feeling right now is like I'm just out of shape, so it just doesn't feel good going to the gym because it's even more painful.
Mm. Well, I totally get that, man. I mean, frankly, we're not really leaving the house for a whole lot. I'm just curious, like, why is it actually important for you to lose the weight now? Did something change?
Nothing changed. It just doesn't feel good.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what comes up for you specifically?
Just looking in the mirror, looking at old photos. Um, the clothes don't fit anymore. Shirts are tighter.
Hmm. Like, is it tight, like around the chest or around the stomach, or is it like
Stomach.
when you put your arms up, like the belly comes out? Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, turn off the lights.
Yes. The stretch is no fun. The yawn stretch. But yeah, no, it's more in the stomach area.
Okay, I feel that, man. Any concern for you about your joint health or anything like that as you're starting to get a little bit older, or is it mainly just I want to look good and feel good?
Look good and feel good primarily at this stage.
Okay. So I'm pretty clear at this point. I mean, like 15, 20 pounds would get you back to where at least you mentioned you'd be happy being able to fit back into those jeans. Um, am I your first call, or have you been looking around for a solution for a bit now?
You know what? I haven't been looking. I just saw the post and it just hit me. So I just thought I'd respond. And here we are.
Okay. Well, and I'm naturally curious because there's obviously a plethora of people that claim to be able to help with fitness and stuff out there. Do you mind me asking why you think I might be the right kind of person to help you?
Yeah, I mean, I just in clicking on your profile, I saw that you're in shape. I saw that there's other people that follow you that I know, so we have some mutual friends in common. So I just thought I'd, hey, might as well respond and see if there's any options that you have, so I can understand what it is you do to help me get into shape.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, I've helped quite a few people in the past. I haven't shared a whole lot of testimonials, but you do actually remind me a lot of one of my first clients, Mike, who, I mean, he was an HVAC tech, so joint pain was actually a big issue for him. But when he was about 30 pounds overweight in his eyes, it wasn't just that. I mean, between you and me, I do have permission to share, luckily, because he's very forthright after having his transformation. It took a big toll on his love life, actually. Just not wanting to put himself out there and connect with his wife anymore. And I really felt for him. So I do want to say, though, that like the problem with him was that he was going through constant workout classes, doing like Orange Theory, CrossFit, and he'd work really hard, but he wouldn't get the results because typically it's not the training itself that's most important. You seem like a pretty busy guy. How much would you say you work in a week?
I mean, probably anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day. So about like whatever, 50 hours on the top end.
5, 6, 7 days a week?
About 5 days a week.
Okay. So you probably don't have an extra 2-3 hours a day to be going and spending on classes realistically.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to cut that time, the drive time down, and kind of parking, and then you get coffee and stuff. That would be helpful to optimize the time a little bit more.
I find that to be really important for a lot of people that are actually really busy in the rest of their lives. So, I mean, Raul, like if we were able to get you down 20 pounds over the course of about 2.5 months would be realistic, with only 3 to 4 hours tops of actually being physically active per week. Is that something you could honestly see fitting into your schedule?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. I mean, based on what we've talked about, your goals are totally realistic. It's something that I help people do on a regular basis. My question for you, though, because I could lay it out, make it super simple, it would be a step-by-step process you just have to follow. But there's a reason why all of us with an internet connection aren't rich and ripped, right? And that's because it actually takes work on your end to put in the time, effort, and energy, albeit not a ton. It's still going to be a slight shift from your daily habits. So if we did work together, how could I count on you to be fully committed to following through with what I would tell you to do?
Well, I mean, I guess I would have to understand, how do you keep me fully committed? Like, is it a one-on-one, one-on-many? Like, is there a set schedule? How would it work? So then I can best answer that question.
Well, that's a good question. We can get into some of the tangible stuff, but regardless of what I do, ultimately, it's going to come down to you. Because even if we were to talk, for example, for an hour a day, there's another 23 hours of the day that are your responsibility. So it's really up to you, man. I mean, how could I count on you to show up fully for yourself in the other 23 hours of the day where I can't be at your door? I can't be pulling you out of bed.
Right. Are you talking about like nutrition and like committing to some sort of regiment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if I make the investment, then I'll be committed.
Okay. I guess maybe let me rephrase. Is this something that would be nice? Like, it'd be nice to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds, or are you actually committed to doing whatever it takes?
This is like I waited too long for this. Like it's there's no room to gain more weight.
Mm. What would happen if you did?
It would just, I'd have to like go commit to buying new clothes.
Mm. And why don't you want to do that?
Because I want to be back to where I was, like where I felt good, made more money, I was healthier, just looked good. So that's my goal, is to get back to where I was.
Interesting. Do you find that your income seemed to be correlated to your weight? Like when you were in better shape, do you think you were more productive or something?
I mean, I never took like weight by money and analysis, but
That'd be an interesting chart.
I mean, I guess if I like backtrack, yes, I can probably correlate it, but I think more the feeling of feeling good, it should show up in other areas also more positive.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably um, the energy levels are much higher through the day. So when you mentioned the extra other 23 hours in a day, that's kind of the energy through a workout or a training. You kind of have that emotion and that motion, and it just helps you through the day.
Okay. Well, cool, man. I mean, you might not know the number, but naturally I'm curious. Maybe you know ballpark. If you did have the same energy, and virality when you showed up in your workplace as you did a year ago versus now, 20 pounds heavier, how much more money do you think you might be able to pull in?
I mean, maybe an extra like 2, 3 to, I mean, $5,000 a month, possibly.
Really?
Just
Okay.
be by getting things done faster and being more efficient. Because sometimes when I'm talking to the clients, I might get a little lazy and do contracts later. But when I'm feeling good at peak, then I'm just getting shit done all the time.
Hmm. I find a lot of the same kind of patterns in myself, but $3,000 a month, that's interesting. Do you mind me asking how long you've been in this position? Like, when did the weight start coming back on?
It's been just a slow trend. I would say more so over this COVID scenario than ever, because I was going to the gym previous to this, and getting the momentum. But then this just crushed momentum. I haven't really done anything besides a couple walks.
Hmm. Well, I appreciate your transparency. I mean, you're far from alone in that. Would you say it's been like 3 or 4 months that we've been in lockdown then?
About 3.5, probably fair. Yeah, so March, April, May, yeah, a little about 3.5.
Dang. Okay. So I'm terrible at math. Maybe you could help me out. I mean, if you could be earning $3,000 more per month if you were optimally um, productive, and it's been 3 months that you haven't been, what does that work out to as far as money having been left on the table at
I mean,
$3,000 a month for 3 months?
yeah, 9 grand.
9 grand. Are you okay with that?
And now that I say it out loud, it's a lot of money.
I mean, money's relative, but I would say 9 grand is not something to just take lightly. That's in the past. I get that. Going forward, would you be willing to have another month, 2, 3, 4 months with that kind of money still being left on the table?
No, I definitely don't want to leak money like that. There's so much more things we can do with it.
Okay. Well, man, I know we're here to talk about fitness, and like as far as the goals you have there, getting back into those jeans, super simple. It sounds like the bigger thing is making sure that you can productively and happily handle your days and plug this massive leak in income. So, I mean, that said, it feels like you've probably got enough intrinsic motivation to be able to hold true as long as you've got a good plan. So if you had a simple step-by-step strategy you could follow to lose this weight for good, do you see anything that would hold you back from getting started with that process today?
I mean, no, I mean, I just would like to know what the pricing looks like and get the details and make a decision from there.
Hmm. We can get into that, but I do have to ask now, like, is pricing your only determining factor for making this decision?
No, not only. I mean, I would look at pricing and accountability combined. How you show up for me would be how I show up back. So that would probably be my other questions, is knowing what is a little more detail on the pillars or in the inner workings. But ultimately, money's not the most important part as far as my decision. It's just showing up and having a good coach.
Okay, fair. I know that's a little bit of a tough question, but I have to ask because ultimately, like, if you had $1 million in the bank account, for example, and I said, well, it's going to be 20 grand, you could probably slide your card and maybe take no action because you're not really feeling held accountable. So if money was the only thing, chances are like we would need to charge a hell of a lot to keep you held accountable, right? Um, but I mean, ultimately, the goals that you have, it'll be simple. We do it on a regular basis. So as long as you're willing to trust in my guidance, give me 2 months, I'll give you the body of your dreams. So ball's in your court. I mean, I can walk you through kind of like step by step what it would look like for you, but it's up to you. Where would you like to go from here?
Yeah, let's go into the numbers. What are the options?
Okay. So I know I mentioned like 2 months in, chances are we could have you down in that weight, but it's not a matter of just losing the weight. It's a matter of establishing habits that are easy to maintain, that don't like take up a whole bunch of time and energy, that are maintainable. so that you never have to get into this position again. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably didn't notice your bottom line dropping over the past 3-4 months until we even had this conversation today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy how quickly that can sneak up on you. So my goal is not just to help you lose the weight. That's simple. My goal is to help you keep it off for the next 10 years, which, I mean, I can't do math real well, but $3,000 a month that you keep on your bottom line for the next 3 years, I'd say you could probably make a pretty good chunk of change with that. So basically what we're going to do is take you through a really specific process. I know you mentioned that not having accountability is huge, and that was a big part of like why you were successful before. So what we'll do is a little bit of a hybrid model. You'll have me as your coach to check in with you every single week to make sure that your plan itself is perfect for you, which means you'll still be able to eat the foods you like. You won't have to work out 2 hours a day, not even close to that. But every day that you do show up, you'll be taking steps forward. And I'll make sure that those steps are always the most effective. In addition, we've got a full support community that you can always collaborate with, share recipes, share wins, hold each other accountable. And anytime you've got questions, you can learn not just from me, but also my past clients like Mike, who, for example, lost 30 pounds over the course of 30 days when we worked together. And 6 months removed, he's kept it off. So does that make sense so far?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Now, I know that like we've kind of covered training and stuff. Nutrition will be the most important thing. So we'll just need to dial in a system that works for you. So again, you can still enjoy what you like. I know you're a big tequila shots guy, and so am I. Good news, you don't have to give those up. We just got to be smart about what happens the rest of the day so you can enjoy that while keep losing weight. Is that cool?
Yeah, as long as I don't have to give up the tequila.
Amen, brother. So ultimately, there's a lot more things that I'll be doing on my end to keep it simple for you. But what you need to know is that every step of the way, you'll always know what next step to take. That way, we're not wasting any time on stuff that doesn't move you forward because you're a busy guy. And anytime you've got any need for support, I will be there, whether that's through the client portal where you can communicate with me Monday through Friday, or it's on our weekly touch points. So that way you'll never be alone. And 3 months from now, not only will you be back in those jeans, but you're going to be feeling damn good with another $3,000 in your pocket to spend on new shirts and stuff too. So I don't want to jammer on. What kind of questions do you have for me about the process specifically?
Nothing really about. Actually, I do have a question. Like, is it all like? You know what? I'll skip this question just for the sake of the role play. But I mean, I think I'm all set. I like this. It seems like a good program you have here. I think the last bit is, what is it? Tell me what it's going to cost.
Yeah, I'm happy to get into that. I just want to make sure the process itself feels like something that you can be on board with. So like 0 to 10, 0, I hate it. There's no way in hell I'd ever do that. 10, like I've been looking for this for my whole life. Praise God.
I'm giving it 8.5. So I'm right there. There's always room for up, but yeah, there's I'll say I'm at 8.5.
Okay. It's kind of an interesting number. Why not like a 6 or a 7?
Just because I feel like the timing I need to do something. Number 2, the accountability sounds good and the program sounds really good. The 8.5 just seems like the right position. I'm not fully at a 10 just yet, but we're right there.
Okay. Are there any lingering like uncertainties that I can maybe help you to address? Because ultimately, for us to be successful, I need you to be as all in for your results as I am. I can't be more committed than you. And I can guarantee you the reason that I get such great results with my clients is because I'll show up as a 10. Can I count on you to meet me there?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay. Well, in that case, it's going to be a lot of fun, brother. The last thing we haven't touched on quite yet is the investment. Obviously, so over the course of 90 days, what we're going to do is not only help you lose the weight so that this is no longer a concern when you're stretching for things, and we got Dunlap's disease, right? So we'll get rid of that. We'll get you back into those genes that you love, and more importantly, we're gonna have fun doing it, so that as you add that $3,000 a month back to the bottom line, as you get back into the clothes that you love, you're gonna be a confident example for the rest of the people in your life too. And ultimately, we're just looking at either 1,500 over the course of 12 weeks, or if you want to save a little bit of money, pay in full, it's 1,200. Which works better for you?
So it's $1,500 one time, or I'm sorry, can you repeat the options? $1,500 over what?
So 1,500 over the course of 3 months. If we do a payment plan, it's just $500 to get you started. Or if you're the kind that likes to be all in, committed, ensure that you do get the results, I can save you a little bit of money. It comes out to $1,200. So basically a $300 discount for paying in full.
Got it. Is it possible to think about it and get back to you tomorrow? And also, do you have any movement or leverage on that price?
So I'm kind of curious to dig in, because I totally hear what you're saying, man. Like, it's a lifestyle shift, but going back to what we discussed process wise, I mean, does the idea itself make sense for you? Do you like what we discussed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like it.
Okay. I guess I'm curious where the hesitation's coming from. What do you like about it?
I mean, I like the accountability that you mentioned, because that's probably the most important part, rather than just the workouts or the meal plans or whatnot. To have guidance, or somebody at least to kind of like a coach to tell you what to do. That's probably the best part of it.
Okay. Well, I know we kind of glossed over things pretty quickly, since you seem like the kind of guy that doesn't like to bullshit around and put off the inevitable. But I do want to share with you, like, on that topic, what I did mention is the weekly calls where we'll be meeting to ensure that every step you take forward actually works. We didn't really cover the fact that inevitably, when you have that bad morning, you don't feel like working out, or when it's late at night and you're thinking about reaching for the Ben and Jerry's, you'll have a hotline to me where you can text me, and I'll make sure that we don't fall off track. Because one day off track is 2 days to get back on. And again, we don't want to keep leaving the same kind of money on the table that has been. So I'll be there every step of the way. And Raul, brother, I know that it's going to be a stretch as far as putting in the work, but believe me, if you're even half as successful as the rest of the people I've worked with, the only problem you're going to have is that we didn't get started 6 months sooner. Sound fair enough?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what I'm going to invite you to do is actually establish a commitment to yourself. Whether we give you a couple days to get started or we don't, that's totally up to you. But what I find is that the people who are committed, who do at least prove to themselves with some sort of financial commitment, end up getting the best results. So what I'm going to ask for you is that ask yourself, is this something that is important to you enough to actually make a commitment to yourself?
Mm-hmm. I'd say yes.
Okay. So is it a matter of like, I want to wait until after, I mean, you got some weekend plans coming up, or is it just, you got to make sure finances are in the right place? I just want to understand what's behind wanting to push this off.
Yeah, I have some people coming into town. They'll be gone in a couple days, so I just wanted to kind of get a fresh start once I have a clear slate and don't have too much chaos over here.
Totally, man. Family or friends?
Both, combination of both.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Are they staying for the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay, super cool. What kind of plans do you have? Are you going to go out and eat like crazy?
Probably not the right thing to say now, but yeah, of course. Might as well pack on a couple more and then just make the goals a little bigger.
All right. Okay. Well, it sounds like it's time for a final hurrah, so to speak. So I'll tell you what, man, if we did get started right now and I told you, you know what, you can't eat any of those foods this weekend, you'd hate me, you'd hate yourself, we wouldn't show up. That would not be a good way to get this started. However, I do know that once we go back to eating a bunch of delicious fatty foods, we don't work out the next day, we lose momentum, and it's that much harder to get back on the wagon. And what I don't want for you is for you to go another day, which turns into a week, which turns into another month of not being happy in your skin and leaving $3,000 on the table that, like we discussed, would be possible if you were fully in shape. So let's meet in the middle. Let's go ahead and lock down your spot. We'll do the preliminary work so that first thing Monday morning after your friends and family leave, we're able to get rocking and rolling. And within the month after that, we should have you down about 10 pounds, already feeling better, maybe even recouping that money that's been left on the table. That way you can still enjoy the weekend with your family. And we've got some commitment so that come Monday, we can crush it together. How's that sound for you?
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, next steps are super simple. Do you prefer PayPal or do you want to just use a debit or credit card?
Yeah, credit card's great.
All right. I'll go ahead and get that set up for you on this end while you grab your card. So I'm going to put myself on mute and I'll see you in a sec.
Oh, that was smooth. I like it. What did you guys think out there? Was this helpful? Was this different than just a straight up training? I know that it's hard to role play when you kind of know it's like, I mean, when I'm not.
That was fun. I haven't sold fitness in over a year now.
Yes, that was good. So for all, I think fitness is a good category because it's hard to sell. I mean, there's a lot of people who can make a lot of delays and excuses on their health. So I think it was a good example that you can relate back to other industries. But that was good, man. What did you guys think out there? Anybody thought that was helpful? On the chat, what did you think, Moran? Or actually, one of my friends, his name is Moran. We call him LeBron. So LeBron, you got to tell me what you thought. Cody, what's up, buddy? Ben's here. Yannicki, what's up, guys?
I got to ask you, Raul, because you got a chance to experience it firsthand. What worked? What didn't work? Would you have actually bought in real life? Or would you have been like, nope, not it?
You know what? I would have probably been in my normal self. I would have probably dug deeper into what the inner workings of the program is. And then I would have also dug into a discount on the pricing and say like, dude, man, I'll give you a G note. Let's call it a day. Let's make it easy. You go away happy. I go away happy. Can we get this done? Yes or no? I would probably push like that. That's just my style.
You're a hardball negotiator. I know you.
And it's just, but I'm also a buyer too. You know what I mean? So I'm not like, I'm respectful for other people's time because I hate it when people negotiate and then they'll say, okay, let me think about it now. It's like, well, we don't negotiate against each other. We negotiate to get a deal done. So that's what I would personally do. I'll be like, look, I like it, man. But no, that was like, I would have honestly bought like, cause I was actually more shocked that based on this example that the price was $1,500. I was expecting like $9,800 coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, it's because I'm going to always anchor high. I anchored 20. You remember that? There was a lot of little things.
Yeah. No, all those cues that you did, $1 million in your bank account. I mean, 20 grand you'd be able to swipe that on your card.
Yeah.
So I like how you like, why don't you point out some of those anchors and those messages that you seeded with? So it got us to this point, because at the end of the day, like, you probably knew that let me think about it has to be coming in the fitness space. That's one. So you kind of zone in and nail down the importance, and then you kind of even made it more emotional with the money on the table. So now the investment is basically your investment's like not only free, it's profitable.
Dude, you want to know one of my favorite things to do is to it's not a lie. I'm actually terrible at math. I can't do mental math, but I pulled up my calculator just to see the number first. And then I'm not going to tell him like, okay, if that's $3,000 a month, past 3 months, that's 9. Because if I say it, you doubt it. If you say it, you own it. So I say, I'm terrible at math. Can you help me out a little bit with this? $3,000 a month over 3 months. What is that being left on the table?
Right. Can you guys, like, whoever's on here live, can you guys do me a favor and type this in the chat? If I say it, you doubt it. If you say it, you own it. If you guys can type that in the chat. If I say it, you doubt it. If you say it, you own it. That's important, because Grant was when we were going through this role play, he was getting me to answer my own objections, my own questions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how long am I willing to live with this? How long has it been? Has it been 3 months? And then you kind of like, when I say the answer, you're like, really, I'm reflecting back. Actually, this is truthful. I actually do need to get in fucking shape. And those numbers were not fake. I was like, dude, I need to lose 15 to 20 right now. But so that made the conversation even better. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, let's go through like each cue. So you anchored the price with me,
Oh,
from a million in the bank to 20 grand. So it sounds like it's a relief when you hear the price, almost like, oh shit, that's not what I expected. I thought it was gonna be way more.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that I was doing there. Like some of the bigger ones were getting to, because I'm always listening. As soon as you said something about like, and my finances have slipped a little bit, I was like, oh, that's a good one. So I pause for a minute and I say, well, I'm interested just based on something you said, like financially, do you feel at some level that being in better shape contributes to higher earning potential? So I want a soft buy-in. It's like, well, yeah, a little bit. It's like, cool, no pressure, no ballpark me. Just curious, what would you be making if you were in prime shape? This, where's the gap? Okay, now like expand the gap because it's been over how many months that we've been in quarantine? Three,
Right.
4. Okay, let's be conservative. 3 grand a month for 3 months. I'm terrible at math. How much is that? 9 grand. So now you're almost equating like the offer itself to like, wow, if that could just make that, like if it
Mhm.
cost 9 grand, I guess that'd be worth it.
Yeah.
So I like to do a couple different like price anchors usually if I can. Um,
Yeah, because you
and
talked to the 10 years too. So like over the next 10 years, you mentioned that somewhere. So then you kind of mentally do the math, even though you didn't say, hey, what does that cost? Like, I mean, essentially, if you're looking at 3 grand a month, I mean, it's like whatever 360K is what somebody who will think in their head.
yeah, so it's things like that make a big difference. Let me think. Like obviously, I drop in testimonials, but as just a example. So when I give examples to people, I want to use someone that's similar and be like, we're all different people, but you remind me a lot of Mike, who was very busy, and so he naturally couldn't fit in super long workouts, but that's what he felt he had to do, and that's why he stayed stuck. Just curious, well, how much do you work per week? To kind of establish first off you're busy without me being like you're busy.
Yeah.
Establish the fact in your mind that you are busy, and it's like realistically, would you be able to commit to 2 hours a day working out every day of the week? Probably not. And the good news is that's not necessary. In fact, not even half that we could get you to your goals. So if you had a simple, so I drop that, I let it sit, you've got some certainty. I let that sit and I'm like, okay, so if you had a simple step-by-step roadmap that you could check off daily and know you're making progress, is there any reason you could see that you wouldn't apply that immediately? Because I want to lock down and start isolating objections there. Is there any reason you wouldn't use that immediately? Because anything that comes up like, well, I got a party or something, you didn't mention the party then. So we had to handle that on the back end. But like, that's where you'll be able to draw out a lot of objections there too. I think you mentioned something about price at the time. And so that's an important thing. Anytime someone's like trying to push for that, it's like, hey, great question. We'll get into that. But what's more important for me to understand is, and usually if someone starts asking about price early on, I want to shift responsibility hardcore to them. Like, that's why I anchored heavy with like, listen, I mean, is price the only decision making factor for you? You're like, well, no. And then you told me all about it. And then I anchored on top of it, like, cool. I mean, the reason I ask is because you could have $1 million in the bank account and I could say it's 20 grand. And if price was the only thing holding you accountable, I mean, that's just not enough commitment. You wouldn't show up and it would be throwing that money out the door. Right. So lots of little things there.
Yeah.
What do you feel didn't work for you or like didn't land?
But I'm sorry, like what in this conversation, what didn't work for me?
Yeah. You said like, I think I would have bought, it would have been a little different, but you think you would have bought, that's cool. But where could I and everyone watching potentially improve Because I wouldn't look to this as like the example of a perfectly executed sales call. I think there's always room to improve.
Yeah, no, there's definitely room to improve. I think like the unique part was there was no real detail of the program itself. It's a step-by-step guide. So I like the fact that like you kind of explained it where that's not the most important thing, the accountability and showing up. So you transferred the commitment level to me. Look, I'll show up as a 10 out of 10 every single time. That's my commitment. Now I'm curious, what's your commitment?
Yeah.
Like that I thought was great because that just you say it out loud. It's just like that's why with Jacob here, I pinned his comment. If I say it, you doubt it. If you say it, you own it. So that's why I mean it went smooth. Like there could be definitely improvements, but the fact that you got me to give in and commit on the call, I like that the best because then you just really zone in. Because I mean, health can be the most delayed thing in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to do it. We see plenty of people fail on the New Year's resolutions every year, and also people always like pushing that back, like I'll just do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes, right? So I like the way you handled it. So I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily one thing I would necessarily pinpoint. I think the questions I could ask may have been better, like digging into like more detail of the actual like, well, what does Monday look like? What does Tuesday look like? Like what the fuck?
Right.
Like what am I committing to show up for? But generally speaking, I just went on the role play of the consensus that it was going to be a 7-day a week, some sort of recorded workout with breaking down meals, or at least don't eat too much type like advice, right?
So a couple things that just came to mind that I want to hammer in for people is at the end, so you're totally right. I don't go through and just dump all my shiny shit because I want to keep something in the holster, right? Like, so if I were to tell you every last component about the program and you've got questions that are, like lingering uncertainties, I don't have really any ammunition that I can take you through a looping process with. And also, if I say too much, then it can create objections in and of itself. Like, so we're going to go to a keto diet. And you're like, what the fuck is a keto diet? And I said, well, you got to eat bacon and eggs and no vegetables and no fruits. You're like, that sounds really hard. I don't want to create that objection. I just want to say there's a very simple method of eating that allows you to have delicious foods while still losing the weight. So if you were able to keep tequila in your diet at night, do you think that's something you could stick to?
Right. You got me. You got my pain point.
So
it breaks my heart.
I get back to what matters, and then I basically share just a little bit, and then I ask you.
Right.
So what questions do you have for me about the program? Because then you'll bring up anything that's important, and we can nail that down. And then once you've like, well, no, I don't think I have any more questions, then I want to gauge commitment to the process itself. So it's like, hey, 0 to 10, just level with me. 0, I hate it. There's no way in hell I'd ever do this. 10, dream fit. I'm ready to go right now. Like, where would you say you're at? And you didn't give me a 10. And what I didn't say is like, okay, so why is that not a 10? What would it take for you to be a 10? Instead, I actually quantified down. I was like, so what? It's an interesting number. I'm just curious. Why not like a 6 or a 7? So then you start selling yourself on the program. Like, well, you said that, there's accountability. That sounds great. It sounds like simple. I like that. That's really good. I guess the only reason I'm not a 10 is because blank. And I was like, cool. I hear that. What's important for you to know, though, is I'm going to show up for you 100%. I'm going to be a fucking 10 out of 10. And I only work with people that are going to show up for me the same way, because I can't be more committed to your results than you are. So how can I count on you to show up fully for me, for yourself, for your family? Shift responsibility back to them before you get into price, because they have to be like, yes, this is it, before you can go into price, or things get like muddy.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. I love that transition. How you mentioned like I can't be more committed than you are for your own goals. That was key. And then for you guys out there on the replay or live right now, thanks for hanging in there. Like when he was explaining the program, I mean, it's not like we didn't even get into the details of the program. And that was key because like I remember when I had like a bigger sales team than I have now, my training was you don't learn technical SEO whatsoever, because if you actually know that, you'll bring that up on the call and people will start talking about Google Analytics and metadata and creating like, how am I going to get this shit to you? Where it's outcome driven. It's like, hey, I see you're not ranking on Google. How long has that been going down? Like, why are they there and you're not? So it's just a matter of like, back then it was just a matter of expanding that pain of not being there and why they don't take advantage of that opportunity. So yeah, it was just features, benefits, and like what the future pacing was of being there. Would that grow your business or hurt your business by
That's
getting
so
more?
good.
Yeah.
That was a big pattern that was tough for me to break, moving from working running supplement stores into selling coaching, because the same way I talked about how personal trainers will sell features and then compete on the bottom dollar, like it's kind of the same way selling supplements was, at least for me, because I wasn't that great. I thought that product knowledge was the most important thing. So I knew you could ask me like, hey, this, blah, blah brand BCAA is back here. And I could be looking forward at the counter and I could tell you what exactly was in it. And I thought that was the key. And I had a really great sales mentor when I moved into the online space, kind of like slapped me upside the head. And it's like, the ingredients don't matter. It's how it's presented. Because you don't sell them what they need. You sell them what they want. And then you give them what they need. And so that's why it's like, don't waste your time talking about the tangibles, creating more objections. Just give them an overview. The framework I use is like, and I was a little sloppy on this call, but it's basically, hey, you know how you said problem? Well, what I do is solution, and for you, that means benefit. So you know how you said it's been tough to stick to a workout plan because you don't have that accountability partner anymore, and so you kind of spin your wheels and don't know what to do? Big pain. Well, what I'll do is walk with you every step of the way. You'll have a 24/7 hotline to me. Very simple solution. And for you, that means no more guesswork as to what to accomplish when you're feeling like eating ice cream at night or just fucking off in the morning. We can keep you on track, because ultimately 1 day off track is 2 days getting back on. And I don't want that for you. So that means we are going to take a small step forward. No matter how small, it's going to be forward every day. And again, all I talked about was like, you got a hotline to me.
Yeah. I mean, and just whoever's out there, like, he's basically came down and nailed my commitment and my accountability partner, and then threw that out there when he kept one in the holster, that little hotline thing. I was like, oh shit, that's cool. So, so I mean, if you're a fitness coach out there, you may want to contact me. And Grant set it up.
I can actually, I've got some amazing people that I've worked with, so I can connect you if you want. This has been fun. Any questions before we finish up? I know, Raul, you've got to go in like 5 minutes, and so do I.
Last call, guys, and ask anything on the replay. I mean, this is for you guys as well. We want everybody to get a lot of value out of here. I guess the only questions, I'm glad we did this from a cold traffic standpoint where nobody knows your name, right? Mm-hmm. So like, that's how you can handle the call, is just like Grant's like super composed. You guys are too. Sometimes you just need the right questions in the right order. So you're having an interactive conversation. And I think that's where people get a little nervous, is that when they ask the question, they're not listening to the answer. They're trying to think of what to ask next before the person reacts. Does that make sense?
It's the kryptonite. Like, that's literally what will screw you up more than anything else, is being not present. Because I personally believe, in order to be able to influence someone, the most important skill is being able to make them feel heard. Right? And if I'm not actually listening to what you say, then I can't active listen. I can't expand deeper, because I'm just thinking about what the next surface level question I need to check off is. It's usually not the first answer. It's when you ask, like, really, why is that? Or how long has that been going on? And you start getting deeper, that you get the leverage.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Awesome. That was fantastic, man. I appreciate that. And anybody here, I'll just proactively share the 5x7
sounds good.
You guys are gonna need that from the last. You can grab it from the last live. Grant popped it in there too, but I'll go back and add the link in here too, guys. It's helpful. Just keep practicing. I mean, like just the background on me, like when I was at realtor.com, like if you met me, let's say if you met me in like, let's say 1990, like you're not even that old, fuck. Let me just say, like, if you met me when I was 2 years younger than you are right now, I couldn't talk. Like I never spoke to anybody. I was like super fucking shy. And then I got thrown into cold calling, and I didn't like I didn't like talking. So cold calling wasn't the best job ever, but I started calling. I'd make 5 calls a day, next day 10 calls a day. Then all of a sudden I get this job at realtor.com. It was called Home Store, and I actually thought it was a furniture store. And I had no fucking clue I was going to be selling shit to realtors. I thought it was an online. I didn't even bother going on the internet to even look at what it was.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I applied, and I just like there was 90 people. It was like a boiler room style interview, like 90 people in the lobby. And I ended up just sticking it out and went through 5 rounds of interviews. Some dude asked me to sell him a pen. Like it was like some old school shit. And anyways, got the job. 10 of us got hired. And out of the first 90 days was your probationary period. You had to sell 30 grand a month. I sold two grand in all of the 90 days. So that was pretty, it's fair to say I was $88,000 off.
Oh my God.
But then like I just kept listening to the top guys in the company. I'd tap into their phones, like because you can jump in calls and listen. I would write notes. I would take lunch. I would write scripts all night. I would read books. I would listen to people who are really good at sales that weren't in the organization, and then I just put a natural flow to it. At first, it was all fucked up because I would be reading and people knew it, and then once I started naturalizing it, then it became like a conversation. So the script becomes the framework becomes a conversation. So just my point of this story was, if you suck, that's good because you'll suck less tomorrow. And everybody, like even Grant, like you have coaches, I have coaches still. Always be learning, man. There's always going to be a better way to communicate because that's what we do for a living is we change lives by just communicating. Yeah. Amen. Somebody asked, where did you learn sales?
I've had quite a few great mentors. I think the ones that have made the biggest difference in my life are Ben Gower, who is absolutely the best in terms of helping fitness coaches go full-time online. Just incredible. So Ben Gower, Eli Wild, huge difference for me too. Even more so around just how to show up as a person over just, how to be good at sales.
Yeah.
He changed my life in that way. And then I've had, one-offs and friends in the sales world that have taught me a lot. People like Brad Newman. I mean, being able to work hand in hand with him, doing over $1 million in a weekend in sales, like we learned a lot just together. So I'm always learning. I'm just looking for someone who has the results that I want so that I can kind of pick apart, like, what did they do to get there? Right. And as long as I don't stop learning, I think eventually I'll be at the top. I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Yep, exactly. All right, guys. Well, hey, Grant, thank you so much for your time.
Super fun, brother.
Maybe we'll do what is it, like a tequila? What do we call them? Quarantinis?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, maybe next time instead of one of us being on the hot seat, we'll bring up someone's call and we'll dissect it while drinking. We'll be super cool.
Oh, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. We'll do a shot line. That would be brilliant.
There we go. Super fun, man. I appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks, Grant.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you, man.